All right, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about air masses and fronts. So let's get going with this. So air is going to take on the general properties over the surface over which it is resting. Okay, so when we're going to go through a couple terms here. So if we have a dry air mass, we're going to call that a continental air mass. We do that because, again, the continents are generally dry compared obviously to oceans. Okay, now if it's a humid air mass generally forming over the oceans, we call it a maritime air mass. Okay, so continental, it's forming over dry land, and then maritime is when it's over the humid ocean. Now the second thing we can look at then is temperature. Okay, now so temperature, we can have obviously be cold conditions or hot conditions, and usually that's going to be dependent upon how close we are to the equator, right? If we're closer to the poles, it's going to be cold. If we're closer to the equator, it's going to be higher temperatures. Okay, so if it's cold air, we call it polar, a polar air mass, and then if it's a hot air mass, we call it tropical. Okay, so those are the four terms, and we can put those together then to name these air masses, and this is what we end up getting. Okay, so here's a map of North America. And the two big ones that really affect us, okay, are the air that forms over Canada, because that can come down here into the Midwest. That's called continental polar air mass because, again, it's dry, it's forming over the continent, and it's polar because it's northern latitudes, right? It's going to be cooler up in Canada than it is down here. The other one that affects us is right down here, the maritime tropical air mass. Okay, that's forming over the Gulf of Mexico. And again, maritime because it's over a body of water, so it's going to generally be humid, high moisture content, and then it's tropical because, again, it's closer to the equator, so it's going to be warmer temperatures. Now what happens is, and we talked about this with the air pressure, is that we have high pressure centers and low pressure centers, and the air is rotating around those. And as we learned before, high pressure is rotating clockwise, and then low pressure is rotating counterclockwise. Okay, and what that's going to end up doing is the winds swirling around those high and low pressure centers. The fact that those are rotating that way, they're going to pull and drag these air masses into new territories. So for example, here we've got this low pressure center, right, rotating counterclockwise. So it's going to pull air up from the south. Now for us, what does that mean? It's typically that warm, humid air, tropical maritime air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. And then from the north, it's going to pull down this cool, dry air out of Canada. Okay, so these high and low pressure centers are really huge, have a huge influence on our day-to-day weather. Okay, so look at this map here, and then what I want you to do is tell me the name of the air mass for A, and what would the name of the air mass be at B. We just talked about this, so this should be a layup. All right, so what we got there is A, of course, is the continental polar air mass, and B is the maritime tropical air mass. Okay, and that's going to then influence our weather. So taking that general concept, and let's look at a more specific example here. Here's a low pressure center that's right over Wisconsin, right? And remember, this air is rotating counterclockwise. Okay, so the air is pulling around here. Now what I want you to do on this one is look to see what type of air mass would be coming in from kind of the star location here. Okay, that would be a continental polar air mass, right? So again, this is rotating down, so this air is going to be being pulled down from Canada. And in the same way, right down here, okay, this would be maritime tropical air. So this would be very warm, moist conditions down here in the southeast, and this would be cooler, drier conditions. Now again, depending if it's winter or summer, that's going to affect the range of those temperatures, but generally that's what we're looking at. Now here's an example of this. This is from January 27th to the 30th of 2019. This is where we had very, very cold conditions. We had to close school down for this. But as you can see here, there's a low pressure center right there, and then it moves over Wheaton, and then it goes off to the northeast there. So here, watch that again. I'll rewind. Okay, so you got this low pressure center rotating, and it moves its way across the U.S. Now again, remember, for that low pressure center, it's rotating counterclockwise, right? So the air is rotating around that low pressure center this way, okay, over time. And what that ended up doing then is, look at this. This is a temperature map showing what's going on. Now the low pressure center is right there, right there over Wheaton, okay? And you can see here, this gray-white air is that continental polar air coming down from Canada. And this is where we had highs of -20. So we had like wind chills in the -50 range. It was ridiculously cold. Okay, and again, it's all because of this low pressure center. It's rotating and it's pulling this continental polar air mass down out of Canada. Okay, now you can see at the end here, down in the little corner, you'll see the little green-yellow pop up here. That's that maritime tropical air from the Gulf of Mexico. But again, because that low pressure center, it was a strong low pressure center, and it was coming down aggressively from Canada, it pulled that cold air with it. So that's a neat little example of that. Okay, so meteorology really started to be studied a lot more during the World Wars. And what they kind of did is they often use military terms to describe the weather. So for example, if you have a boundary line between two air masses, they call that a front, in the same way that an army would have a front line. So if you have a cold air mass advancing into a warm air mass, we call that a cold front, okay, moving its way through. So let's look at these in a little bit more detail. Okay. So a cold front is cooler air that's invading a warm air region. Okay, so you can see in this animation here, cold air is pushing its way in. Now you may want to pause the video here and write some of these little notes down here at the bottom. But really what we're looking at here is cold fronts tend to move fast and their leading edge is steep. Cold air is more dense than warm air, okay? And what that's going to do then is it's going to drive into this warm air and rapidly cause uplift. So that warm air is going to get pushed up very quickly. And what that's going to end up doing is it's going to end up causing very strong storms at that front edge, right in front of the cold front, because it's forcing all of that moist air to go up high where it's cooler, and then we get that condensation and the latent heat of condensation that we talked about a few days ago, and it's going to produce strong thunderstorms. Okay, so those big, strong cumulonimbus storm clouds are going to form at the front edge of that. Now here's an actual picture of that. Okay, this is a pretty cool picture. You may have seen something like this. It's called a shelf cloud. Okay, but you've got your cold air pushing in there, and then here right in the front of that is that warm moist air getting pushed and driven upward, right? And that's going to produce strong thunderstorms. Okay, so probably tornadoes in this case too. Now if we look at a warm front, it's the opposite. Warm front is warm air invading cool air. Okay, so this is where that warm air is going to be pulled in and go into that cooler. Now because warm air is less dense, right? Or I'm sorry, warm air, is less dense. It's going to drive up and over the top of that cold front, okay, as this animation is trying to show. Again, so here's some tips or some notes for you about the warm fronts, but they tend to move more slowly. Their leading edge is more gentle because, again, they're kind of spilling up and over the top of that warm or the cold air. So it's a little bit of a slower process. So what that means is condensation occurs very slowly. Okay, so you're going to have kind of general cloudy conditions, not real severe storms, rainy conditions, you'll have sometimes in this instance, but not the severe storms. Okay, so here's a picture showing that idea. So you would have your cold air over here, right, cooler, dry air, and then the warm, moist air is getting pushed up and over. So you can see the clouds starting to form at that location. Okay, so different types of fronts are going to cause different types of weather. Okay, so strong storms versus gentle rains versus no storms at all. Okay, so if we look at a synoptic scale, okay, meaning on big picture wise, and we kind of looked at this with that example earlier with the cold polar vortex air coming down, is we have a low pressure center here, right? And we know that this is continental polar air coming down. So what we're going to tend to see always happen with a low pressure center is we're going to tend to see strong storms right along the cold fronts with these white or blue triangles, right? And then here's the warm front. So here's the maritime tropical air mass getting pulled up, right, by the low pressure center, because again the wind is blowing this way, counterclockwise. And then, so at this location, we're going to kind of have just rainy conditions. Now, right down here, it may be sunny. It's going to be really humid, probably pretty warm. Okay, and then after the cold front back here, the storms have passed. So back here, it's probably clear also. Okay, but cold. Okay, cooler temperatures, and then you get your really bad storms right there. And we'll look at some more examples of that a little bit later on. Here's an actual satellite image of a low pressure center. So the low pressure center is right up here. Okay, so this is your cold front right here. So you can see these bad storms, okay, that are forming here. And then the warm air would be over here. The warm front would be kind of along the top up here. So more kind of cloudy, rainy conditions up here. So still warm and humid over here, cool temperatures here. And then because it's a cold front, we've got strong storms at that location right there. And you can see it has this kind of a comma shape, and that's a very common thing for a low pressure center, is going to have this kind of comma look to it. Okay, and again, how that impacts our weather, because typically we have those strong storms and the warm, moist air, the southeast region right here is going to have a lot more precipitation, and that's what this map is showing, versus out to the west it's more dry, right? Because they don't get really the influence of this maritime tropical air out in the Rockies. Okay, so they'll have some influence from the Pacific Ocean, but the southeast region here really gets a lot of rain, primarily because of its a location that's close to, let me get my head out of the way there, it's really close to the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. Now, one last thing we'll talk about is orographic lifting. So, the low pressure centers are one way storms can form. Another way cloud and rain can form is through mountains, which we call orographic lifting. Okay, so those air masses move along, and if they crash or run into a mountain, the air has to go upward, right? It's not because of a cold front or a warm front. It's just that the mountains are there, so it's going to push that air upward. So what's going to happen then is when that occurs, I'll just get my face out of here. That air ascends, and then as it ascends, it starts to condense, and typically you'll get rain on this side of the mountain, and because all the moisture kind of gets squeezed out, it'll be dry on this side of the mountain, over here on this side. Okay, and here's an actual picture of that. So you can see in this case, you typically see this type of thing in a tropical location, but you'll have the warm air mass coming right here off of the ocean, so the winds are blowing this way, and you can see here clouds forming. It rains a bunch on this side of the mountain or this side of the island, and this side's very dry. Okay, very dry conditions, because again, all the moisture has kind of been squeezed out of the air, right? So orographic lifting is another example of how precipitation can form and cause air masses to produce rain. Okay, if you guys have any questions, shoot me an email or stop me in class.